Today's project, we're going to be replacing the weather stripping on this door. The tools you'll need for this project, sometimes you'll need a hammer, sometimes you'll need like needle nose pliers or even some side cutters to be able to kind of pull this stuff out. And then you'll also need something like this, a 5-in-1 putty knife, something kind of rigid for being able to push the new weather stripping in, and then also utility knives. Okay, I'm going to be using the putty knife here to kind of break the seal between this thing here. Sometimes you can go ahead and just pry it out, and it looks like it's going to be nice and easy to get out of here. And what it is actually stuck into a groove inside this door jamb here. And so you can see it's just that easy to be able to pull this thing out. This is where it's helpful to use like some needle nose pliers to kind of get in here to be able to pull out this weather stripping here. What I wanted to show you is the difference between the old one and the new one here. It's really lost its elasticity or flexibility. It also doesn't really have much of an insulating foam as this new one does here. As you can see, it's got foam padding in there. It creates a good thermal break for the door itself and fills up the gaps there. So this is my recommendation. The next phase in this project is to actually measure the pieces that you'll be installing. I usually start with the top piece. And one other tool I forgot to mention is your tape measure. You'll need that for this project. Another tool I'll use in this project is a little bit of a side cutter here. It helps to be able to cut through the rigid plastic of the actual weather stripping. Okay, so what we got is our first piece here. So you'll just want to take this rigid area here and then just stick it into this groove. Sometimes it'll go in nicely. Sometimes you have to use a putty knife to kind of just shove it in there. Okay, first one down, 2 more to go. Here's the next one we need to do. This is for the hinge side of the door jamb. When I do this, I'm usually start on the bottom because that's where most of the water infiltration is going to come through your door. The last phase of this project is to close the door and see if it has a nice tight seal. So you basically just stand back and then you go and you look around the edge of it and see if you see any light infiltration. If you don't, you're in pretty good shape. And then also just go ahead and pull against the door and see if it comes out. If it came out just like that, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to move this strike plate out a little bit so that it catches. Because of the thickness of the new weather stripping, this strike plate doesn't allow the back set to go into it, so we need just to move it out just a tiny bit. So that's not too hard. You just basically unscrew these screws here. You take the strike plate off. Usually use a hammer to kind of persuade it, and then just bring it out a little bit. You may need to chisel out some of this wood so that it has room for this portion of the strike plate to go in there. Okay, that should be all we need. Okay, the job is just that simple. So we're done with this project. So that's today's Mr. Fix-It tip.